Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, I'm going to be going over about 10 nerfs, maybe a couple of buffs, which I want to see with the next set of balance changes. So we've got to rewind back to 10 days now when the balance changes dropped. Adrian put out a tweet specifying that there should be a balance patch literally in a couple of days' time, and it will mainly focus on nerfing the biggest outliers in the meta, and it won't shift up the meta too much, and hopefully it'll make for a really good World Finals meta. So this video is for deciding which balance changes I would put into the game. So let's jump into it. It's the first on the list. I've gone for Ollie. So Ollie isn't the most toxic brawler in the meta, but he's still very problematic considering he got some big nerfs in the last set of balance changes. So if they were to nerf Ollie, again, I probably only foresee them nerfing maybe 3 or 4 brawlers before the World Finals because we don't want the meta to shift too much. But Ollie would be a nice one. So if it was to nerf him, I would only nerf him by his gadget cooldown. If you guys have been avid watchers on his channel, I've been talking a lot about his all eyes on me gadget. So the gadget, with your next attack, you hypnotize the next brawler. It's just really good into brawlers like Kenji. It's good into anyone because you can use it in combination with your super really well, and it extends the amount of time that you hypnotize a brawler. So it just works really well there. And most of the time with Ollie, when you kill somebody and you're using this gadget, by the time they've respawned, they've got back into position to try and close down Ollie, because his biggest weakness is his lack of damage up close. He can't really defend himself there, but if he has his all eyes on me gadget at all times, he can defend himself. So we just need to be nerfing this like 3 or 4 seconds, and that will be perfect for Ollie, I think. Next up, hopefully on the nerf list, we have Mina. So Mina is by far, well, a top 3 brawler in the game easily. Most people would agree that Mina is a top 1 brawler inside of the game. So with Mina, I think, well, the biggest problem has to be, for me, actually the health. I think the health is the biggest problem. I'm starting to notice that she's a bit more counterable. There's a few toxic plays with her gadgets still. Like, both her gadgets are really strong mechanically. But if it was to nerf her, I would nerf maybe in a couple of departments, but the number one absolutely has to be the health by now. So they've gone with like super charge rate, we've gone with some damage and nerfs. I think the health is next, because for Mina to have so much health as a damage dealer, kind of assassin, a brawler that takes a lot of space, well, surely there's got to be some downside to, like, for the amount of mobility she has on the map. I think she's got to be a lot squishier. So I would literally just remove 1,000 health, but I think it's ridiculous her having, with the shield gear, 8,200 health. So if we're nerfing that, so then with the shield gear, it's about 7,000 health as a brawler. I still think that's maybe on the higher side, but that's definitely the nerf she needs, because she's just banned all the time in pro play. So hopefully on the nerf list, we have Meeple. So Meeple, everybody knows now, after time and time again, we've been talking about how Meeple's been good since the balance changes. I think the past few days, he's just been banned every single game inside of my ranked games. So it's quite clear that Meeple is too strong. So by far the biggest annoyance for me is just the hypercharge. The hypercharge is just far too strong. So Meeple received like 3 buffs, I think 2 or 3 balance changes ago. But because of the meta being super aggressive, of course, Meeple was never going to work when there was a hypercharge Kenji or Kit Super on top of your face constantly. But with Meeple now, Meeple's just completely broken, and it's mainly because of the hypercharge. The hypercharge is just too good. You get too much value out of it, and I believe the duration of the hypercharge super is actually like above 12 seconds, which is just crazy to me. But the biggest one, I would say, if they're not going to nerf it mechanically, I think the radius is still a little bit too big. It's a little bit too cheesy for me. But I think just nerfing a hypercharge rate, plain and simple. It's quite easy to hit shots with Meeple, right? Because it homes in. Just nerf it, probably so it takes like an extra whole 5 shots more or something stupid. And then Meeple will turn down. I still think Meeple will be a top meta brawler with this nerf, but hypercharge, I'm just fed up with hypercharge stars. Let's keep nerfing the hyperchargers, please. Next up, maybe on the nerf list, we have Byron. So Byron, I don't think it's very problematic inside of pro play, because most pro players know how to counter Byron sufficiently, because there's quite an abundance of like tanks and assassins that can take down Byron once the opponent uses their super. But I think when it comes down to like ranked, everybody's picking Byron no matter what. They're picking Byron in heists. They're picking Byron into aggro picks. They're just playing Byron because it's kind of like Gus, where the main attack is so easy to hit and the hypercharge is still very powerful. So I don't know whether the hypercharge is broken. I still, I wonder how I'd nerf Byron. Maybe make it so the hypercharge, again, just gets a bigger nerf, or his supercharge rate would maybe just take 1 extra shot to get, because then he's not cycling his super as much. But it's a nerf that killed him in the past. So I don't know where to really go about this. I don't know whether it needs addressing inside of these balance changes, but maybe one to consider down the line. So next up, hopefully hopefully on the nerf list, we have a Lily. So again, I think Adrian has made it very clear, and he's even been in my Twitch chat explaining some things about Lily, is that the reason, well, we just haven't had enough dev time to really tackle the Lily gadget the way that they want, but it's on their radar. I think it's been on their radar for at least 6 months plus, maybe even this entire year. Maybe this, I think they just missed out on making these changes in last balance changes, and maybe they've had enough time to implement them inside of these ones. So if you guys are wondering, Lily Vanish gadget is just far too strong. You guys should know this. You could just escape pretty much any situation you want, and there's hardly any counterplay. There's no downside. For a gadget that needs to be that strong, there needs to be some type of downside. So whether you can see where Lily is inside of the Shadow Realm, I don't know, maybe she's a bit slower inside of a Shadow Realm. There's a lot of things that people have suggested over the years in terms of nerfing it, and I'm just hoping they finally have enough time to nerf this gadget. Next up, hopefully on the nerf list, we have Kaze. So Kaze still proves to be easily a top 5 brawler inside of a game, and it all comes down to her invisibility and her ninja form. So the reason why she's so good is because she can use her fan attack. I've explained so many times. Use a fan attack just to get into position, get close to a bush, pop your invisibility gadget. The opponent's, oh, I don't know that Kaze can go invisible. Bam! You've got your super. Your super just shreds through it, literally everything, and bam, you have a hypercharge super now. Bam, you've got a team wipe. That's just how it goes with Kaze. So I think the biggest thing they need to tackle is either they increase the gadget cooldown with the invisibility, so it takes like an extra 1 second, 2 second, or they can decrease the how long Kaze is invisible for, basically. There's got to be one of the two, because of being invisible so much, so often. We've been speaking about this for a very long time. I think they finally need to tackle this. So they tackled the hypercharge rate in the previous one. If they're tackling how much she can go invisible, I think she'll be a lot less frustrating to face off again. Moving into another nerf, I want to see the balance changes, but this is probably the only other one I really want to see. So just quickly highlighting ones I want to see is Ollie, Mina, Meeple, probably a Lily gadget, Kaze, and Cordelius. The rest, I'm just kind of scraping the barrel a little bit, but they could do with nerfs. But Cordelius is definitely one I still want to see. This is mainly because whenever Cordelius gets in distance, he'll just shred through literally everything. So he's supposed to be a damage dealer. He's supposed to be kind of tank counter assassin type of brawler. Well, he's supposed to be an assassin himself, but he just shreds through literally everything. So that this damage buff that they did plus 10, what was 10, 12% was just crazy. We just need a pure damage nerf, just a little bit, maybe even like a 4%. If we don't want to do half, 4%, 3%, we just need some main attack damage or supercharge rate nerf. So it just stops Cordelius just being able to dictate the pace of the game on his own. Next up on my nerf wish list, we have Ruffs. So I know that Ruffs has only really become meta as of recently, but maybe the projectile speed buff was a bit too much. I mean, I just feel like I can't miss a shot with his projectile speed buff. It's absolutely insane. So this means that he gets more supers. This means that he gets more hypercharges. So maybe if they don't want to make well, if you guys remember when Ruffs was first released, he had an insane well, he basically had no attack delay, so his unload speed was just absolutely insane. Instant, he was insane. So, you know, these buffs to his projectiles, sometimes a bit toxic, but if they don't want to nerf his projectile speed, because it is a bit too easy to hit shots, at least nerf his supercharge rate or his hypercharge rate to kind of compensate for that. Because again, Ruffs he's actually one of the least played brawlers in terms of just overall player base, but in terms of the pros, he's just easily close to the S tier because he's just got consistent damage. His hypercharge super is very good still in the meta. Yeah, just nerf one of either projectile speed a tiny bit or your supercharge rate. Next up on my nerf wish list, I've gone for Max. So again, another brawler that's only just became like at the top of the meta again, but Max has always been like S tier for a long time. I mean, I think since Jay Young's release, yeah, Max has gone down, but this is just too much right now. I don't really like, but it was quite clear, but just want to make Max meta, because whenever Max is meta, it's a pretty healthy meta, right? Same with Meeple as well, but with Max, 2.2 supers for a hypercharge, it's just ridiculous. I think they should have just buffed Max in another department, whether it be star powers, whether it just be anything other than the hypercharge, because the hypercharge is, well, I just don't like it when hypercharges are charged so fast. 2.2 is just ridiculous. I think most hypercharges should be around 3 supers at least, and this is a very powerful one because it enables you and your teammates to basically get a full super for free, and with it only taking just above 2 supers to get, it's just too toxic. So let's nerf the hypercharge rate back to what it was and buff Max in a different way, or maybe just naturally Max would have gotten a little bit better. Maybe just buff the damage again or something, I don't know, but just too many hypercharges. Last nerf that I want to see hopefully with these balance changes is with Otus. So again, another brawler that's not too toxic. Reminds me of like a Ruffs, where the overall player base will not even realize that Otus is this powerful. But in terms of pro play, Otus is one of the best brawlers inside of the game. 1,000 damage per shot is absolutely obscene. It is crazy now, especially since all of the brawlers have received nerfs with their hypercharges. It means he can just rip through brawlers that much better. So if we were to nerf Otus, again, I don't think this is like a brawler that absolutely needs nerfing right now. But I think the next few balance changes is definitely a little bit worrying with how strong he is, because he's got good range. His main attack is easy to hit, 1,000 damage. You know, he can rip through multiple brawlers with 2-3 pieces of ammo, which is absurd. So just a small damage nerf would be pretty nice. I'm going to be going through the one buff that I want to see. So there's a ton of brawlers that need buffs, guys, I know, but this is supposed to just be a small set of balance changes, which can obviously, of course, lead to a healthier meta for the World Finals. So there probably will be like some big balances after the World Finals, which is towards the end of this month. So my thinking is that they want to buff Ziggy, perhaps, because with Ziggy's been terrible since release, and even with the hypercharge and with some damage buffs and whatever else, Ziggy's still pretty terrible. So to me, they like it when, you know, even after having discussions, after watching, you know, the Time to Explain podcast, it's quite clear that, you know, when the new brawlers came out, they've spent all this dev time, whatever, they want it to be shown on Brawl Esports, because, you know, it was just incentivize people to play with a brawler, buy the brawler, etc. So yeah, Ziggy's not going to get any play rate at World Finals. Let's just put that straight. So Ziggy needs a buff. And again, I'm really struggling with Ziggy, because Ziggy can be a really toxic brawler. So whether they, again, just buff the damage, because the main attack is so hard to hit, why not just buff the damage a little bit more? I mean, maybe the super damage a bit, because I don't think the super is actually as good as once thought. Ziggy needs some love in some way. Again, I don't want to be the person to, you know, suggest like an unload speed buff or like projectile size. There's little tweaks that can happen to make Ziggy a much better brawler, but then that could make Ziggy way too strong. So maybe they could just tackle Ziggy after World Finals, because again, that could shift the meta too much. And they're also probably going to do some balancing around the upside down showdown, because there are a few brawlers that are really toxic, like Hank's bubble, which is obscene. Some projectile sizes are probably a bit too much. Shelly is running rampant. There are probably going to be some tweaks. I don't know the data upside down showdown, and I haven't unlocked every single ability, but I'm having a lot of fun with it, and hopefully with some small balance tweaks, it can be even more fun and less frustrating. So that's going to be it for today's video, guys. Hopefully we get some news in terms of balance changes pretty soon. It should be around Wednesdays, my hope. So yeah, I'll keep you guys updated on that, but it's just my wish list for now. I'm kind of holding back on the ranked guide and a few other things, because if balance changes come out, it just shifts the meta and just shifts, and it completely just makes that rank guide irrelevant. So bear with me until balance changes come out. But that's going to be it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.